All right, everybody. Hello. Time is now 7:42, and this meeting is now called to order. Thank you, everyone who might be watching, for your patience. We had some IT difficulties, so there'll be a little bit of a different style of presentation tonight. We won't be able to show the slides on the presentation on KGEM, but you can get the slides by going to the meeting agendas and minutes page on the city website where the slideshow has been posted. And so you can pull it down yourself there. Is there anything that I missed, Sherry? Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving right along, if you would please stand and follow Commissioner Austin in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Austin. Next item, can we please have a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Austin?
Here.
Brown? Here. Rose?
Here.
Scheffler?
Here.
Sheaf?
Here.
Mashani?
Here.
Chair Stahira?
Here. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on February 12th of 2025. If there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Hearing no corrections, we can now take a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
We have an abstention from Commissioner Rose
I abstain as well.
and Commissioner Brown. Oh, sorry. So with that, the motion is approved. All right, next portion of the agenda, moving right along, we have now arrived at the public input portion of tonight's meeting. So at this time, citizens who wish to discuss any items that are not on the agenda may speak to the commission. And as a reminder, we can't discuss any of these things, but we can take it under advisement and ask for future agenda items. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak during this portion of the meeting? All right, hearing nothing, the public input portion of this meeting is now closed, and we'll move on to public hearings. So tonight we have one public hearing item on the agenda. It's PH1, which is a request to amend conditional use permit CUP 2016-04. The subject property is at 162 and 164 West Pomona Avenue with Hop Secret Brewing, Christopher Thomas as the applicant. And this amendment would allow the business to expand its hours and operations to an additional adjacent tenant space. I believe we have the staff report from Assistant Planner Austin Arnold. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tonight, we do have an amendment to conditional use permit CUP 2016-04 to allow a microbrewery that offers beer sampling within a tasting room to expand its hours as well as its business operations into a portion of their adjacent unit, 164 West Pomona Avenue. And the applicants, Mr. Christopher Thomas and his partner Kai, are here with us tonight. So the subject property is located at 164 West Pomona Avenue. This is on the southeast corner of Primrose and West Pomona Avenue, and it's located in the PD 12 Plan Development Area 12 zone. And, I'm sorry, next slide. As a bit of background, the existing microbrewery was approved by the Planning Commission on April 13th, 2016, and it allowed for incidental retail sales for on-site beer tasting and off-site sales for an ABC Type 23 license for a beer manufacturer. It totals 2,217 square feet in total in size. And with that retail sales for incidental, it allowed for on-site brewing, packaging, and distribution of beer, and on-site retail sales, or a tap room as they call it, for a beer tasting and sales for off-site consumption. And that tap room was limited to 434 square feet. The city of Monrovia defines incidental retail sales as no more than 20% of the total floor area, and so it currently equates to 19.5% and has 17 seats. And as the committee may know, the commission, the Monrovia Municipal Code, specifically section 17.44025, does require a CUP when alcohol is sold or served anywhere within 500 feet of a residential zone, park, school, recreation center. And it is directly adjacent to a multifamily complex, Moda, directly adjacent to the west. Additionally, the CUP's existing conditions does require an amendment to their CUP if any expansion is proposed, which brings us to tonight's item. Next slide. They are requesting an amendment to their CUP. This would include an expansion of 935 square feet into the rear portion of an adjacent unit, again at 164. As you can see in the image, hopefully when people at home can see on the computer, at 162 is located on the right-hand side of the image, and 164 is on the left-hand side of the image. They're also proposing to modify their hours of operation. Next slide. So here we have the existing site plan. This is the current operations of the site. It's located within Hamby Park. Hamby Park is 28 industrial condos accumulating of 105 total parking spaces, 4 of which are ADA. And it was designed as a shared parking concept, so there are 56 assigned spaces and 49 shared visitor spaces of that total 105. As you can see in the image in yellow, the subject site specifically for Hop Secret is at 162. They're proposing to expand into just the rear portion for that 935 square feet at 164 West Pomona Avenue. Next slide. So here we have the existing floor plan. As I stated briefly earlier, the existing microbrewery is just over 2,200 square feet. It includes manufacturing, office, restrooms, and a mezzanine. Their retail sales is, as shown in its current configuration for their tap room, is 434 square feet. They are planning to redesign this portion and knock out a small wall or slash entrance into the 164 unit as shown in the red lines, and again into 164. And there are currently alcohol barriers separating the taproom area from the manufacturing space. Next slide. So the proposed floor plan would expand the total to 3,152 square feet. The taproom expansion only equates to an additional 187 square feet. That, compared to the total square footage, would still equate to only 19.7, so still under 20% of the total floor area. The rest of the space accounts for just additional manufacturing space that they need to continue their operations. This includes 748 square feet of mostly dry and cold storage. You can see there's a small cold storage box in there for products that have already been finished or need to be kept at a certain temperature. Additional alcohol barriers would be proposed in this location, mimicking what they already have on site, again to separate off. And as you can see in the image on the right-hand side, the proposed redesigned tap room would still remain at their 17 seats and still at 434 square feet. So again, with a combined total of 621 square feet for their tap room, which again equates to 19.7. Next slide. The applicant is proposing to slightly modify their hours. They're currently open from 4 to 10 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, 4 to 11 Thursday through Saturday, and 3 to 9 p.m. Sundays. Their proposed hours are going to be just 4 to 11 Monday through Friday and 10 to 11 Saturday and Sunday. So a minor change on their proposed hours. Next slide, please. Now, with regards to parking, as I indicated, Hamby Park was initially designed for industrial uses, typically parked at 1 per 500. This was specifically done through a shared parking concept, as I mentioned, so splitting it up between assigned spaces and shared visitor spaces. Now, once the PD 12 zoning standards became in place shortly thereafter, it provided provisions for incidental retail sales without the requirement of additional parking. However, at the time, again, this was 2016, initial concerns were raised at the original hearing. And because the gold line hadn't yet been established and we didn't know how big of an impact transit-oriented area was going to be for PD12, they required a parking study to assess potential demand of the area. And it went, in the study that was reviewed current occupancy uses and overlapping hours with other businesses when the tap room would be open. And the study concluded that the microbrewery would have minimal impacts, and since its opening 9 years ago, Hop Secret has not had any reported parking issues to this date. Next slide, please. Now, although no additional parking is required for the incidental retail sales, staff did request that the new owners provide an independent parking survey, which reviewed occupied visitor spaces during overlapping hours between 4 and 5 p.m. with the adjacent businesses within Hamby Park, as well as their peak hours of operation, typically between 7:30 and 9 p.m. So staff also confirmed that the majority of spaces in Hamby Park are still light industrial office uses. This was done searching current business license applications. So majority of the businesses are still open between 9 and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the survey results show that there would be a current minimal impact. It counted with a max of 15 cars in the parking lot between Monday and Friday, and a max of 10 cars during their peak hours when the other businesses would be closed. So given that no change is occurring during the overlapping hours between their current existing hours of operation and the proposed hours of operation, that overlapping hour is no change. So staff believes that the proposed expansion would not create any significant impacts to the parking. It's also important to note that the Gold Line has now been finished. Now recently the A Line. We do have a park and ride lot directly adjacent to this site, which accounts for additional 126 spaces, as well as the LA Metro parking area, which has additional spaces as well. Next slide, please. With regard to conditions of approval, staff did request updated and consistent conditions with other breweries that have been previously approved. Specifically, we're limiting their hours of operation as newly proposed. Again, that's 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. The approved floor plan is still an integral part of this approval. Any expansion would require another amendment to their CUP to be back before this commission for review and approval. Now, if they propose any additional seats or tables that would not expand, then they could go back to DRC for review, and the DRC may refer that back to Planning Commission if needed. The new combined total would be specific to the 621 square feet total of their tap room, allowed as a maximum of 20% of combined areas as an incidental use. And then those areas of use, again, are limited to a total of 2,531 square feet for the microbrewery, and the tap room would equate to 621 total square feet. It should be noted that this was duly noticed with a public hearing for both postcard and the newspaper, and we have not received any comments up to this point, as far as I'm aware. That does conclude my presentation. I myself, as well as the applicants, are here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I didn't say before, but excellent work rolling with the IT difficulties, and thank you for making the slides available to everyone so we could all follow along and get the key information. Do we have any questions from the commission for Austin? All right, not seeing anything. So since this is a public hearing, this is the time and place for public input regarding PH1. We'll accept testimony in the following order. The applicant, if they wish to speak, then persons in favor, persons with concerns, and then the applicant will have a chance to respond. And just some reminders, please come to the podium and state your name. That's all you have to say. And address your comments and questions to me. So we'll take input from the applicant if they wish to speak. And if not, we can move on to persons in favor, if we have anyone in favor. Anybody opposed? All right, hearing nothing, no rebuttal is necessary, so the public testimony portion of the hearing is now closed. Any other comments or discussion or questions from the commission?
I think it's a pretty good project. I'm dating myself. I was here when the original one came through, and we did have some concern, and we're finally getting the development around it. I think that there's sufficient parking as Austin presented with the city's park and ride, and the Gold Line, and then all the additional the living spaces, the apartments that are going in, all have public parking related to them. It shouldn't be an issue. And I'm willing to make a motion to approve CUP 2016-04 amended with conditions as presented in the staff report.
I just wanted to say one thing
sorry.
before we move to that. I was here too when we approved this. And with everything that I'm seeing closing down, I'm so happy to see a business that is growing and doing well. So that makes me happy and feel good. So congratulations to you guys. Now, Austin.
My apologies for not looking around. So I move to approve as presented.
Excellent. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a second from Commissioner Vashani. Let's move ahead to a roll call vote, please.
All right, Commissioner Austin?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Scheffler?
Yes.
Sheaf?
Yes.
Vashani?
Yes.
Chair Stahira?
And yes. All right. With that, the motion carries.
All right. Congratulations, and Chair, if I may.
Yeah,
Just
go
like
ahead.
to read the appeal language, and
Please
that
do.
is that decisions of the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council if filed in writing to the city clerk within 10 days, and appeal fees do apply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting is finished, and we will move on to administrative reports, of which we have one, AR1, which is a request GPC 2025-0002, and I believe that is, I meant to mention this earlier, I think that's titled wrong in the agenda. It says 01. But so 02, to determine conformance with the general plan and CEQA applicability for an acquisition of property by the City of Monrovia applicant. And I believe we have Planning Division Manager John Mayer on deck
Yes,
for
thank
the
you.
staff report. So
Thank-
please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, Commissioners. Yes, I'm here to present the general plan conformity finding for the city's proposed acquisition of the Anderson House Museum at 215 East Lime Avenue. And just for reference, I'm on the title page of the slideshow here. About to go to slide 2. I'll give you some background. The Anderson House Museum is a designated historic landmark, number 149, and one of Monrovia's earliest surviving homes, built in 1886. It represents the city's early residential development and provides a tangible connection to Monrovia's past. Slide 3. The Monrovia Historical Society currently owns and operates the museum, and since 1979, it has served as an important historical and educational resource, offering the community a glimpse into life in Monrovia in the past. However, the Historical Society has struggled to keep up with the museum's long-term maintenance needs. Next slide. Several critical repairs are needed in order to ensure the long-term preservation of the structure, including a new foundation. The house currently sits on the ground and needs a stabilization, plaster and wallpaper replacement due to age and wear, upgrades to plumbing and electrical systems to bring them to modern standards, ADA access improvements to ensure accessibility for all visitors. And without these repairs, the building's condition will continue to decline, making preservation efforts essential. Next slide. On February 18th, 2025, the City Council unanimously approved the acquisition of the Anderson House Museum just to ensure its long-term preservation. There were two options considered. One was relocation to Recreation Park. This was rejected due to the high cost and the environmental concerns. The second option was a preservation on site, which was approved by the council and seen as the most feasible and beneficial option. Slide 6. So the decision to preserve the Anderson House in its original location was based on 3 key factors: maintaining the historic integrity, keeping the home in its original setting near City Hall and Old Town Monrovia preserves its historic context. Avoiding relocation costs, moving the house would have been expensive and could have caused structural damage. And this option also ensures continued public access. The museum will remain open for community engagement and education. Next slide. So the Planning Commission's role in all this is, now that the City Council has approved the acquisition, the Planning Commission's role is to review the transaction for general plan conformity as required under California Government Code Section 65402. This review ensures that the acquisition aligns with the city's land use policies and preservation goals before proceeding. Next slide. The property is designated public, quasi-public, PQP in the general plan. This designation is intended for public and community-serving institutions such as museums, government facilities, and educational spaces. And the acquisition aligns with goal number 9 of the land use element, preserving historical residences and neighborhood character. Next slide, please. Architecturally, the Anderson House is a stick-style Victorian home featuring intricate wood details, decorative eaves, and period-appropriate interiors. It also it's also historically significant due to its association with John Anderson, an early Monrovia settler who played a role in the city's development. Next slide. Community of benefits beyond its architecture, the museum serves as a long-standing historical and educational resource, hosting school programs, community tours, and historical events. With this acquisition, the city will ensure that the museum remains an active and valuable part of Monrovia's cultural heritage. Next slide. As part of this acquisition, the city of Monrovia will assume full ownership of the Anderson House Museum and be responsible for its maintenance, preservation, and long-term care. However, the Monrovia Historical Society will continue to play a key role in operating by giving tours, acting as docents, and maintaining the period displays within the home. This partnership will ensure that the home remains accessible to the public while benefiting from the city's stewardship. Next slide. This acquisition qualifies for CEQA exemption. Specifically, Class 25 covers the acquisition of historic resources for preservation purposes, and Class 31, this covers the rehabilitation or maintenance in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior standards for preservations. These exemptions mean that no further environmental review is required. Finally, based on these findings presented, staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the acquisition in Anderson House Museum conforms to the Monrovia General Plan. This concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions of the commission.
Thank you very much, John. Question, Commissioner Rose.
Yeah, I'm just curious, who owns the home now? Do we,
It is owned by the Monrovia Historical Society.
okay, so
Yeah.
we're kind of purchasing it from ourselves?
The
I guess I just don't understand.
group is donating the property to the city so that it can take care of it.
Oh, okay.
They're a separate entity, not
Okay.
part of the.
So so when we say purchase,
No,
it's not
so-
really a purchase.
acquisition.
They're just turning it over to us.
They're
Okay,
donating
okay,
it
that's
to
where
the
I was a
city.
little confused.
Yeah.
Are there other, I think I kind of asked this at the last meeting when we were talking about another property acquisition. Are there other examples where the city has acquired a property for historic preservation reasons and taken on the upkeep and maintenance and whatnot?
I believe this is done in a similar way as the Historic Museum at Recreation Park. So it's going to be owned and maintained and operated in the same way.
So in that case, the city owns that property,
yes.
the historical museum, and foots the bills for
Rehab and maintenance.
maintenance and upkeep of that
That's right.
facility as well. Other questions, Commissioner Austin?
So was the acquisition similar to like the property acquisition at the Pocket Park or the small park behind the Chick-fil-A / Starbucks? Is that a similar type of acquisition where they give the land over and we acquire it and put it in the city's name?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from members of the commission? All right. Just a point of clarification. Should we open this up for public comment?
Yes, we should.
Very good. All right, so seeing no other questions from the commission, this is the time and place for public input regarding AR1, and we'll accept testimony, persons in favor, persons opposed, and then the applicant, no, there is no applicant. It's the city. The city will have a chance to respond. Do we have anybody wishing to speak in favor? Seeing no one, do we have anybody opposed? No need for any rebuttal. Have any other questions come into our minds in the meantime?
So can I ask, so the purpose of our review is just to determine whether it conforms to the general plan, right? That's it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just another comment to Commissioner Brown and Commissioners Rose, you weren't here at the last meeting, but we did talk quite a bit about historical preservation and how that fits in with the goals of the general plan. So it was some discussion that we had at the last meeting, but you're welcome to ask any other questions of staff that you might have. All right. So seeing no other questions, no comments, no other debate, I'll entertain a motion if we have one.
I can move that we find out the proposed acquisition of real property is in conformity with the general plan as presented in the staff report, so I move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please let's take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Austin?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Scheffler?
Yes.
Sheaf?
Yes.
Vashani?
Yes.
Chair Stahura?
Yes. All right, with that, the motion carries.
All right.
That completes our administrative report section, and I think we can move on to the Community Development Director report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you guys for being here this evening. I have a very short report. I wanted to follow up first and foremost on the packet that we distributed at the last meeting, which was the draft environmental document for the property located at 347 Highland Place. That's the subdivision for the proposed 3-lot new units. The public review period for that project is still occurring. The last day is actually Monday, March 17th. So we'd like to announce that at the commission. With at the closing of the public input session, staff takes in all the public comments, and we will be producing, the city will be producing a response to comments before that document and project goes before the commission. So I do anticipate it will be several months, maybe 2 to 3 months before it comes to the commission. But the project will be noticed before it comes to the commission, and that's important to note as well. And then lastly, just I wanted to give the commission an update regarding our the effort involving the potential inclusionary housing ordinance. The city council has been actively studying this topic, thinking about where the ordinance should be applied, what the trigger should be for the provisions. The city council conducted their last study session last week on March 4th and directed staff actually to begin the public hearing process. So staff anticipates having that ordinance before the commission at the April 9th meeting. Now, there's a lot of information for the commission to digest, and so within the next day or two, I will be sending you the materials that are posted on the city's public website for your review. And we'll work through this together.
Okay, just a question on that. So the Planning Commission hasn't been directly involved in those particular study sessions. Of course, we can watch them online. Just a request, if you can summarize maybe some of the key ground that was covered there as part of the presentation and/or staff report when we consider the ordinance. Is that
Absolutely.
possible?
Absolutely. I will do my best to break it down in a very digestible format.
Yeah, I
for
think
the
there've been
commission.
3 study sessions, right?
That is correct.
A lot of ground covered.
Yes,
Sherry, were those actually taped?
they were. So we will be, I will
Provide
be
those
providing
links.
you with links to the PowerPoint, links to the videos, any supplemental documentation, the feasibility analysis. And I hope you'll find that the last study session, I think, was the most comprehensive and most easy to understand. If you're looking to understand just the concepts of inclusionary housing, those were highlighted in the September 2024 study session. I'll make sure we make that very clear.
And you'll provide all those materials to us ahead of time for review?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Was that the end of your report? Yes. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission or reports from commission members or announcements? All right. Seeing nothing, I believe we can proceed to adjourn. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for April 9th of 2025. This meeting is now adjourned at 8:13 p.m.
New record.